You've been eating eggs completely wrong your entire life. Not the eggs themselves, the timing is the real problem. The order you eat food changes everything inside your body. Most people never think about when eggs show up in meals. That one invisible mistake is keeping your insulin dangerously elevated daily. Elevated insulin locks fat in place like a biological vault. Your belly stays bloated no matter how clean your diet is. You cut calories, eat salads, and still nothing seems to change. The problem was never what you ate, it was sequence. Scientists discovered this not in a lab, but by observation. They watched what happened when people changed just one eating habit. Not the food itself, just when eggs arrived in meals. The results were so dramatic, researchers ran the study twice. They could not believe what was happening inside the human body. Insulin dropped faster than anyone in the study had predicted. Blood sugar stabilized in ways that no drug had achieved before. Belly fat, the deep, dangerous kind, started visibly shrinking. Not the fat you pinch, the fat strangling your organs. This discovery became known as the egg sequencing secret worldwide. By the end, you'll never eat breakfast the same way. Your body doesn't just respond to what you eat daily. It responds powerfully to the exact order food arrives inside you. This phenomenon is called the food order effect by scientists globally. It's one of the most underrated discoveries in metabolic science. When carbohydrates hit your digestive system first, blood sugar spikes sharply. Your pancreas immediately fires out a massive surge of insulin response. Insulin is not just a hormone, it's a fat lock. When insulin is high, your body physically cannot access stored fat. The fat cells seal shut and stored energy stays trapped inside. Nothing you do burns that fat while insulin remains elevated high. Not cardio, not fasting, not willpower. Insulin overrides all of it. But when protein arrives first, something completely different begins to happen. Specifically, the dense, complete protein found inside whole eggs changes everything. Protein slows something called gastric emptying inside your digestive system immediately. That means food moves more slowly from stomach into small intestine. When digestion slows, glucose enters your bloodstream gradually and gently instead. No sharp spike, no insulin flood, no fat lock engaged today. The result is a dramatically lower insulin response to that meal. Same calories consumed, same carbohydrates eaten, completely different hormonal outcome achieved. Eggs are uniquely powerful for this food sequencing effect specifically. Scientists call egg protein the most bioavailable protein on the entire planet. Your body absorbs and uses egg protein more efficiently than anything. When eggs arrive first, that protein hits your gut lining fast. It signals your entire digestive system to immediately slow its pace down. Then it triggers a cascade of hormones that rewire your metabolism. These hormones quietly change how your body handles every bite afterward. One of those critical hormones triggered by eggs is called GLP-1. You may recognize that name from recent headlines about weight loss. GLP-1 is the exact hormone the most expensive diet drugs mimic. Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, all designed to copy what eggs do naturally. GLP-1 reduces your appetite before you ever feel the urge to overeat. It slows stomach emptying and suppresses insulin when your body doesn't need it. Eggs trigger a completely natural release of GLP-1 inside your body. No prescription required, no injection needed, no thousands of dollars spent monthly. Just 2 whole eggs eaten first thing before anything else works. Another powerful hormone triggered by eggs is called peptide YY daily. Peptide YY signals directly to your brain that your body is satisfied. It tells your hunger centers to stand down before overeating occurs. This is why egg eaters report feeling full for 4 to 6 hours. No mid-morning cravings, no reaching for snacks, no energy crashes before lunch. The appetite suppression from eggs is hormonal, not just psychological willpower. But the most important effect of egg sequencing is not appetite. It is what happens to your insulin levels while you are sleeping. Most health content never addresses this critical overnight hormonal reality at all. Your insulin levels do not reset the moment you finish eating dinner. If you spike insulin all day, it stays elevated well into night. Bread at breakfast, carb-heavy lunch, afternoon snacks, insulin never truly recovers. By the time you fall asleep, insulin is still running dangerously high. And when insulin is elevated at night, your body cannot burn fat. Your body has a built-in fat-burning mode designed for deep sleep. It is called nocturnal lipolysis, and it is extraordinarily powerful when activated. Nocturnal lipolysis is one of the primary ways your body clears belly fat. Not during your workout, not during your fast, but during sleep. While your brain consolidates memory, your body is supposed to burn fat. While your organs repair themselves, your metabolism should be clearing stored visceral fat. But nocturnal lipolysis only activates when insulin drops low enough to allow it. For millions of people, that drop never happens because of breakfast choices. A high-carb breakfast sets the wrong hormonal tone for the entire day. That morning insulin spike reverberates through your system for 8 to 12 hours. Lunch amplifies it further, and the insulin never finds a recovery window. By evening, your body is still in fat storage mode, not fat burning mode. But a breakfast built around egg sequencing changes this entire trajectory immediately. Eggs eaten first produce a blunted insulin response from the very start. That lower insulin baseline carries forward through your entire day naturally. Your body becomes more sensitive to insulin when baseline levels stay lower consistently. Insulin sensitivity means you need less insulin to manage the same blood sugar. Less insulin needed means levels stay lower throughout the entire day naturally. And by the time you fall asleep, insulin has dropped far enough for nocturnal lipolysis to finally activate and burn stored fat. This is what researchers call the overnight effect of strategic egg sequencing. It is not magic, not a supplement, not a secret ancient remedy. It is hormonal sequencing, and eggs are the key that starts everything. Now, let us talk specifically about the belly fat that won't leave. Not all fat inside your body behaves the same biological way. The fat sitting just under your skin is called subcutaneous fat daily. You can pinch subcutaneous fat, and it is cosmetically frustrating to see. But subcutaneous fat is relatively harmless from a metabolic health standpoint overall. The fat that actually threatens your health is called visceral fat specifically. Visceral fat sits deep inside your abdominal cavity where you cannot touch it. It wraps around your liver, your pancreas, and your intestines silently. Visceral fat is not passive. It is metabolically active and dangerous always. It secretes inflammatory compounds that disrupt your hormonal signaling constantly. It directly causes insulin resistance and makes your pancreas work harder daily. The more visceral fat you carry, the more insulin your pancreas produces daily. More insulin produced means more fat gets stored in a vicious cycle. This self-reinforcing cycle is why belly fat seems impossible to break alone. The most effective way to break this cycle is not cardio exercise. It is not aggressive calorie restriction or extreme intermittent fasting protocols either. The most effective intervention is consistent and strategic insulin reduction through food. When you lower insulin consistently, you remove the hormonal block on fat burning. Your body can finally access that stored visceral fat as usable fuel. Studies on protein-first eating show measurable reductions in fasting insulin within weeks. Specifically, measurable drops in fasting insulin appear within as little as 14 days. And where insulin drops consistently, visceral fat begins to follow closely behind. The belly that seemed impossible to flatten starts responding when insulin finally drops. Now, let us get specific about how egg sequencing actually works practically. The rule is beautifully simple once you understand the science behind it. Eggs come first, before toast, before fruit, before oatmeal, before everything. Before any food that contains carbohydrates, the eggs must be consumed completely. You eat the eggs entirely first, and then eat whatever else remains. This sequencing matters because the insulin blunting effect of protein is time-sensitive. If you eat eggs at the same time as carbs, the effect weakens. If you eat carbs before eggs, the glucose spike has already happened fully. The protein can no longer slow gastric emptying because digestion already accelerated badly. The sequencing effect is completely lost the moment carbs arrive before protein does. But when eggs arrive first, your gut releases the correct hormonal signals immediately. Your stomach slows down, and glucose from later food enters blood gradually. No sharp spike, no massive insulin surge, no fat lock for hours. Research published in Diabetes Care tested this exact protocol on real patients. The study tested people with type 2 diabetes and metabolic dysfunction specifically. Eating protein and vegetables before carbohydrates reduced post-meal glucose by 37%. 37% reduction achieved with the exact same meal and same portions. Only the order changed. Nothing else about the meal was modified at all. That is not a minor dietary tweak or a marginal statistical improvement. That is a fundamental transformation in how your body processes the same food, achieved entirely by rearranging the sequence of what arrives in your stomach first. Now, here's where egg sequencing becomes even more extraordinary and surprising. Eggs do not just contain protein that sequences your insulin response favorably. They contain a specific compound that directly supports fat metabolism at the cellular level. That compound is called choline, and most adults are chronically deficient in it. Choline is an essential nutrient that almost no mainstream health content ever discusses. Your liver uses choline to package fat and export it from itself. When choline is adequate, fat moves out of the liver efficiently and completely. That fat gets transported through your bloodstream and burned as usable cellular fuel. When choline is deficient, fat begins to accumulate inside the liver itself dangerously. This condition has a clinical name. It's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is not just a liver problem in isolation. It directly and aggressively worsens your overall systemic insulin resistance significantly. A fatty liver becomes less responsive to insulin signals from your pancreas quickly. So your pancreas produces even more insulin to compensate for the resistance created. More insulin means more fat storage, and the cycle deepens and accelerates dangerously. 2 whole eggs contain roughly 300 milligrams of choline in a single meal. That is more than half of your entire recommended daily choline requirement daily. When you eat eggs consistently, you restore choline your liver desperately needs always. A liver with adequate choline processes fat correctly and keeps insulin sensitivity intact. A liver that processes fat correctly is the foundation of metabolic health daily. There's one final layer that makes morning egg sequencing especially powerful specifically. Your cortisol is at its absolute highest in the first hour after waking. This is completely normal, and it is called the cortisol awakening response, always. Cortisol is your body's way of mobilizing energy to prepare for the day. But cortisol and insulin interact in a way most people never consider daily. High cortisol actively raises blood sugar as part of its morning energy generation. Your body is already generating glucose from cortisol before you take a single bite. If you then eat a high-carb breakfast, you add more glucose on top. Glucose load added to an already cortisol-elevated blood sugar baseline creates a disaster. Insulin surges hard and fast, and the fat-locking mechanism engages immediately upon eating. Eggs completely dampen this dangerous cortisol and carbohydrate combination effect naturally. The protein in eggs does not trigger a significant glucose response on its own. When cortisol is peaking in the morning, eggs give your body protein without glucose. Your body gets the fuel it needs for muscle maintenance without adding blood sugar. The result is a smoother and more controlled hormonal morning for your metabolism. Cortisol does its job, then tapers naturally without being amplified by insulin surges. Insulin stays low and blood sugar moves gently without the dangerous morning spike. By mid-morning, your body is already accessing fat as fuel more readily available than it ever would be after oatmeal, toast, or fruit. The window between waking and your first meal is metabolically extraordinary for your body. Egg sequencing is precisely how you use that critical window most correctly, always. Your body runs entirely on biological signals received from food and environment daily. Insulin is the single most powerful metabolic signal your body receives from food. What you eat first before anything else determines how insulin behaves for hours. That behavior carries forward through 12 to 16 hours of your waking day. Eggs eaten first blunt the insulin spike that would otherwise trap your fat. They trigger GLP-1 and peptide YY to suppress appetite and reduce overconsumption naturally. They deliver choline to a liver that needs it to process fat correctly. They protect the cortisol awakening window and prevent the dangerous morning insulin surge. They set a hormonal baseline that allows nocturnal lipolysis to activate during sleep. That is the complete egg sequencing secret explained fully without supplements or products. Not a diet plan, not a detox protocol, not an expensive morning supplement stack. Just the right food arriving in the right order at the right time. The science here is not experimental or fringe. It is well documented and replicated. Food order effect studies have been repeated across multiple countries and populations worldwide. The results are consistently the same, regardless of who is being studied scientifically. Protein first, carbohydrates second. Insulin responds with measurably less aggression always. Eggs specifically amplify this effect through their unique combination of protein and choline. No other common breakfast food delivers both sequencing power and liver support simultaneously. Oatmeal gives you fiber but spikes glucose before protein arrives to slow anything. Toast gives you carbohydrates that trigger insulin before your body has any defense. A smoothie with fruit floods your bloodstream with fructose before any hormonal preparation. Even yogurt with granola starts with enough carbohydrates to initiate an insulin response. Eggs stand alone as the breakfast food that works with your hormonal biology. They work with how your body was designed to receive and process food optimally. Start tomorrow morning with a simple and completely free metabolic experiment for yourself. Put 2 whole eggs on your plate before anything else is even prepared. Eat those eggs completely and entirely before you touch anything else on the plate. Then eat your toast, your fruit, your oatmeal, whatever else you normally consume. The carbohydrates you always eat will now behave differently inside your body entirely. They will enter your bloodstream slowly and gently, without triggering the fat-locking insulin surge. Your energy will be steadier, your cravings will be quieter, your mind will be clearer. Do this consistently every morning for exactly 14 days without changing anything else. Do not change your portions, do not eliminate foods, do not start a new diet. Simply change the sequence. Eggs arrive first before every other bite you take. Within 2 weeks, your fasting insulin will begin showing measurable improvement biologically. Within 2 weeks, your belly will begin responding in ways it never did previously. Not because you ate less, not because you exercised more, not because of supplements, because you removed the hormonal block that was keeping your body trapped in storage. The egg sequencing secret is free, It is sustainable, and it starts tomorrow morning. Your insulin has been waiting for this correction your entire adult metabolic life. Your belly fat has been waiting for the hormonal signal that finally says burn. Give your body that signal, starting with the very next breakfast you eat. Eggs first, everything else second, and watch your metabolism finally wake up completely.